And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business with a showdown between the Empire, who shall be led by Volkmar the Grim and his super powerful mustache. And today, my friends, we face off against Wood Elves, who shall be led by Mason WP, and it looks like it is going to be the dreaded Mel Gibson. Now, I definitely did not see this coming. Most Wood Elf players I do run into on ladder are going to be using some sort of a kite build. So the build you do see from me right now is the build I usually use against Wood Elf Kite. Essentially, you just kind of screen out with your unbreakable infantry and use the black lines to outrange the Way Watchers and slowly pick them apart. But in this case, I am going to be getting rushed pretty hard. And also in this build, I am experimenting with REIKSGUARD Knights, so I usually do use Empire Knights because they're a little bit cheaper. Granted, REIKSGUARD Knights do have better combat stats and are, just a little bit more durable all around. But Empire Knights cost $850 against REIKSGUARD, which I believe are $1,100. But I wanted to see if the combat stat difference here in these REIKSGUARD would make a big deal against like Wood Elf Cav and pressure builds. So we'll see. Maybe the armor is going to be very useful, of course, for stopping the Dryad Rush and all that sort of scary stuff back here. As far as my build goes, like I said, triple REIKSGUARD Knight, one here, and one over in the tree line there. The front line is going to be Sigmar's Sons, 2 groups of Flagellants. We do also have these Silver Bullets in case of Durthu, a Witch Hunter, Volkmar the Grim, and a Deathcaster. So Spirit Leech always very good, and so is Buna against Wild Riders and whatnot. So just going to be trying to reorganize my forces, of course. A bit of a panicked situation, right? He deploys right behind me with Mel Gibson and a horde of Wild Riders. Very aggressive stuff for sure. So it is going to be quad Wild Rider. One of them is going to be the Wild Hunters of Kurnus. So these angry reindeer cav going to be pushing in pretty aggressively. On top of that, Wild Rider, and more Wild Riders, all of which do have shields. He's got Orion here, and honestly, I feel like Orion really isn't a bad lord. He's just very overshadowed by, Prey of Anathrema and Glade Lords and how common that strategy with the Way Watchers has been, but I've been running into Orion quite a bit on ladder, and man, he's been giving me some big problems. This boy can do some work, and talk about countering Volkmar, right? He's not infantry sized, so Volkmar isn't going to get the bonus against him. And on top of that, Orion does have anti-large and armor piercing, and he can definitely beat down Volkmar in combat. So pretty cool stuff. He's got Dryads here into the sunset, Warns of Sithril, and he does also have the Branch Wraith here in the back. And the Horn of the Wild Hunt has been sounded once more in the deep, so the entire Wood Elf army is going to be getting a charge bonus. And we will see what happens as the Wood Elves do descend upon my unformed ranks. And you can see the Sigmar Sons trying to get in position very quickly here. On this particular engagement, we are able to get the REIKSGUARD Knights to actually engage against the Hunters of Kurnus, and it seems to be a pretty even trade, which I was very happy about. Wild Hunters are very expensive, but he does have the Cav advantage. He has 3 to my 4, so many of the engagements I'm taking, I'm going to be a little bit kind of behind on catching up and playing a little cat and mouse there. So he does get a really nice round. Those REIKSGUARD Knights are going to get pounded. Right here, we do drop a Spirit Leech, and the wagons are able to pull back while the spears are able to intercept these Wild Riders. And instead of going to that losing engagement over here, I bring my REIKSGUARD Knights down right here and slam the base on top of these Wild Riders, and that's some pretty good damage for sure. Granted, Shield of Thorns is really helping those guys stay quite durable. Now, just trying to get my wagon back, you can see the Hounds of Gibson are popped here on the Silver Bullets, doing some pretty good damage. It looks like Hawk's Talon coming as well, but we should be able to dodge that, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem there. In the meantime, Volkmar the Grim causing huge problems here, just tearing through the Wood Elf ranks, getting a fat banishment, which breaks the Wild Riders, and also does some really substantial HP damage to those Dryads there. And yeah, that was a really fortunate banishment for me. But on that same note, Volkmar is being hunted by Mel Gibson, and he's taking a ton of damage in the process. Mel is pretty big. He can push past, most infantry-sized units. Maybe not Cav, but these guys for sure. And yeah, big damage on Volkmar. So at this point, I got to turn and run, man. Use my Witch Hunter to cover, lay down some suppressing fire here on Orion, even though it won't slow him down, but hopefully they'll kind of keep him in check there. Although it looks like the Witch Hunter just engages in combat. Can't quite remember what was going on there. So yeah, just trying to run with Volkmar. Back here, we do have our handgunners who are being focused down by his Way Watchers, which I couldn't really get to. He had the 4 Cav units against my 3, and I was forced into such a defensive posture so quickly. And with this build that I am using, the Black Lions need to carry pretty hard, right? That's an expensive unit. They need to do some big damage, and I found they kept getting obstructed here. I was trying to shoot, I think, the Wild Hunters of Kurnus, but my REIKSGUARD Knights appeared to be in the way. So there's a Fate of Buna on the Wild Hunters, and it looks like the REIKSGUARD might be able to finish them off with the support of that Witchcraft there, or at least get them very low. They do have incredible leadership. The Wild Hunters of Kurnus, I think their base is like 80 or somewhere in that ballpark, so it's certainly no joke. As far as the balance of power goes, it's pretty even. He's a little bit ahead in this game. He's gotten some really good shock damage, but I kind of felt like if I can stabilize these dreaded wagons back here, get them in position, just start ripping shots into his Way Watchers, into his Wild Riders, and somehow if I could peel this big, elvish demigod here off your boy Volkmar, I would be in a pretty good position here. Orion's really tough to kill. With the Cloak of Isha, he gets the ward save and also heals himself. But knowing that Volkmar is going to be something I need to keep alive, and he also can benefit from regeneration here, I send in the REIKSGUARD Knights to try and muck up Orion, and it is a sacrifice for Sigmar, but somebody's got to do it. So in the backfield, the wagons are trying to pull back. My opponent's Way Watcher is getting some good shots, and I am sending, I think, 11 flagellants in to try and intercept those guys. And yeah, only one of the wagons does die, which is pretty unfortunate, but the other two are going to be pulling back here, and hopefully I'll be able to start ripping some shots. Granted, Wild Riders are coming back from route, though my REIKSGUARD Knights were able to perform pretty well and, you know, trade decently considering the circumstances. His Wild Riders have been able to return. Finishing off these silver bullets here definitely is going to be quite a painful situation here. So yeah, just being very conservative. You can see we did some big damage to Orion, just actually having him amongst spears and REIKSGUARD Knights for a period of time. Unfortunately, my Amethyst Wizard gets a little bit stuck here and is going to be terror routing off. And Orion with the big old spear, but did that just like go right into that grass right there? A little bit disappointing. But nonetheless, Flagellants here fighting the good fight. Sigmar Sons doing their thing as well, working on the Wardens of Sithril, and they appear to be trading pretty well. Pretty unfortunate for me here. You can see that the Witch Hunter has been broken, and the Wild Riders are hunting this bad boy down. So right now he's got about 1,000 HP, and it's only going to get worse from here. I think the remnants of some brave REIKSGUARD Knights are fighting the Wild Riders there, but they do break, but more importantly, they buy some time. And now you can see the Hellblaster Volley Gun Wagon is able to break those Wild Riders. So those reindeer are going to be running for the hills and hopefully not coming back anytime soon. Another banishment coming down, and you know, Balance of Power is looking really grim. Although in the game, I honestly didn't feel that bad considering I had Volkmar here, and I also did have the Black Lions. And looking at his army, it's pretty tattered as well. He's about out of ammunition with the Way Watchers here. He's got a couple units of spears and some really beat up Wild Riders, but for the most part, like, I really didn't feel like the balance was this bad. Granted, I guess my Lord is very low. Volkmar is just beat to hell here, man. 1,000 HP, and he should still be healing. Oh no, that's what it was. I forgot to bring Volkmar's healing this game. Oh man, I was wondering during the game. Yeah, okay. This was a quick battle, and I forgot to bring the item, so he wasn't healing this entire game. Man, that really sucks. Anyways, I just noticed that now, but that explains it. Because during the game, I was like, why is Volkmar so low this entire time? Because with that item, he should be at about 2,000 or 3,000 HP right now, which would be a huge difference, right? Anyways, REIKSGUARD Knights back here are on the hunt, trying to slip around and get on these Way Watchers. We also have a couple of Flagellants chasing here. So REIKSGUARD Knights are being hunted by Mel Gibson, though. He's got his hooves, man. He's stomping across the yard, Foe Seeker active, and the REIKSGUARD Knights do get terror routed because, you know, he's an Elvish demigod. He's not messing about. Able to terror route down some of my REIKSGUARD there. The last of the Flagellants on the Way Watchers do get broken off there, and Volkmar the Grim is able to break some of those Wardens of Sithril there, supporting the Sigmar Sons in their winning fight, I think. Yeah, those are Sigmar Sons there. And that is, I think, gonna be all she wrote as far as my army goes. Now, this was a real shame because I had the two wagons with tons of ammo, and those wagons, I feel, could have done some really big damage and easily killed the Wild Riders. The big issue would have been killing Orion. Maybe would have been possible with the wagons still functional and still kind of firing and everything, but at this point, Orion can just bully pretty much everything I have. Sigmar Sons, of course, can do some decent damage. He only has 30 armor. Melee defense is still 40 against their 41 melee attack, so it is damage we can, you know, kind of get through the gateway here and, you know, potentially poke him down a little bit. Yeah, very, very close game for sure. A great ambush on my opponent's part. He played a really, really solid game, and that pressure was really caught me off guard. I'm so used to, you know, seeing kind of the Xiphos-esque kiting Wood Elves, and that I just wasn't prepared for a rush. Although, in some ways, I had triple REIKSGUARD, so maybe I was. I feel like my reaction was a little bit poor. I got caught in some bad engagements on the initial Wild Rider rush, and perhaps that was a big part of it here. So here comes the glorious wagon of Volkmar. Orion getting in there, Horn of the Wild Hunt active, charge bonus of 105, and he skewers Volkmar off the mount there. And now it's going to be Sigmar Sons fighting their last brave stand here. Well played to my opponent, man. He played a really good game. His rush was awesome. It was on point. He protected his Way Watchers the entire game with his superior cav numbers. I was not able to get back there, and man, Orion really did bully down my cav units, which was pretty badass. And I love seeing these kind of builds, man. And it really, you know, makes me rethink it a little bit. Although I still think Volkmar is a really good choice in that matchup. You know, I don't know if I would have had a chance of winning with the healing. Maybe so. I mean, it certainly would have been a closer game. But yeah, still, man, he played really well. So in retrospect, I think I would cut the Witch Hunter. Like, he felt like I usually bring the Witch Hunter and the Silver Bullets just to kind of like shoot Durthu and like Ancient Tree Men, which are pretty common these days. But in this case, I think just cutting the Witch Hunter and yeah, I don't think the REIKSGUARD Knights are worth it. Like, honestly, Empire Knights seem to perform just as well, and they allow you to get so much more. So we'll go ahead and go to the drawing board, and I'll show you guys an updated version of this build. Well played to Mason. It was an awesome game. The quad Wild Rider, certainly very dreaded indeed, and always glorious to see Mel Gibson having a solid performance here on the channel. So let's go ahead and jump on over and fine-tune our build a little bit. I still like the wagons a lot. I feel like they're really, really good in that matchup because they can't be sniped by the arrows of Karnas. So if your opponent does go for the kite, you know, it gives you options there. So honestly, you can go with Volkmar. Just make sure you bring your healing item, man. Like, you are going to just straight up suffer if you don't. Like, there was so much misvalue that game. Deathcaster is pretty good. I like the guaranteed value he can get against like Wood Elf Kite, you know, Overcasted Spirit Leech to snipe value targets, and Buna's really, really good as well. So from here, I definitely like Sigmar Suns and Flagellants. They help you deal with rushes, and you saw they perform pretty well in the front line. But from here, I honestly think just a couple Empire Knights is going to be totally fine. And if you do want to stick with the Black Wagon, or the Black Lions, yes. They're, I still think they're an incredibly good choice. And you can see we have a lot of extra funds now that we've been able to get that going. I still think bringing Silver Bullets is quite good. They can do some incredible work for you if you're on point there. And from here, we could get some more Spears. I'm tempted to get some Pistoliers too. Yeah, so we cut that. I mean, Life Leeching is okay, but I definitely want both those spells. Hammer of Sigmar isn't as useful, I suppose, in this matchup, so you could like cut this and get a couple Pistoliers just to kite Wild Riders and kind of poke high-value targets like Mel Gibson. I think something like this would be way better. You just have way more support with the Spearmen, more bodies to throw in, and it's really about protecting the Black Lions and letting them take out those big targets. But anyways, well played to my opponent. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. It was quite a bit of fun to play that game. I remember being quite excited at the sight of Orion charging through the swamps yelling "Treat him." Always a good time. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. Take care.